I'm your host, Sierra Hoffman, and on today's call, we have Shawn and Ryan Gaylor of GT Capital Management. So thank you both so much for being on the show today. All right, guys. So I'd love to know more about your story. So tell me about your background and how did you guys get into commercial real estate?
Well, we started about 10 years ago in real estate. We started with a few rental properties and really enjoyed that process of finding the right property, getting tenants, managing every aspect of the backgrounds to getting tenants in there, and then any other concerns or maintenance issues that may have come up while the tenants were in that property. And then we realized that we wanted to expand our business a little bit. So we started to get into the single family fix and flips. And we did quite a few of those pre-COVID. And those were really successful for us. But then we had one right in the midst of COVID, which kind of changed our trajectory a little bit about how we wanted to get into real estate. And I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, we were actually mid-flip right in the spring of 2020, like right as COVID was ramping up and everything was shutting down and everything was just chaos. So it kind of hit us when we were right in the middle of it. We had all of our funds tied up in this deal and we didn't know what was going to happen day to day. Like we didn't know if the contractors were going to show up. We didn't know if the market was going to crash. So it was an eye opener through that whole year that we kind of stuffed all of our investment into this one project. And we kind of realized at that point that we needed to diversify a little bit in real estate, stay in real estate, but just kind of diversify. And when you have all your eggs in one basket, you kind of realize that something like that takes all the control out of your hands and you just kind of have to go with the flow. So the whole COVID thing for us, because we were still in the single family fix and flip space, was kind of an eye opener that we needed to diversify a little bit, maybe explore other avenues in real estate.
Yeah,
and we were lucky because we were able to sell that property before things got chaotic. Actually, the market flipped in a way that we didn't expect, and home values went through the roof. So we were actually very lucky.
Things actually worked out for the better,
but during that time, I think when had that reality of, okay, what are we going to do next? He started researching multifamily, large apartment complexes, and came to me and said, "Hey, we should buy an apartment complex." And I was like, Are you kidding me? There's no way we can afford an apartment complex. We're not millionaires. That's not happening.
Yeah.
But he actually explained the process a little bit, and I was intrigued. And I started to do a little bit of research on my own to see, okay, how do we make this work? And I needed to hear it from somebody who had done it before. And we had kind of stumbled across Tyler Devereaux and the multifamily mindset and decided to attend one of their sessions. And hearing them explain it and the process and how you don't have to be a millionaire to get into real estate, especially large multifamily real estate. You can work with a team, you can work with investors, and you can all be a part of this great project and see it come to fruition in, average time of 3 to 5 years. And then you have the next project and move on from there. And the whole process made sense to me. And at that point I was hooked. I said, we have to try this. We have to see what we can do and see if we can make this work for us. And we've been in about 1.5 years now. And we just closed on 170 units in Atlanta. And it was exciting for us to finally get, some of those units under our belt. And it's still a learning process for it, but it's exciting to know that anything is possible. Starting from one, single family rental property to now having 170 units under management is a great accomplishment.
That's huge. I mean, it's a big shift, right? From the single family space to the next day, all of a sudden you've got 170 units that, you're a part owner of. So, that's pretty awesome how you were able to do that. So this would be your first deal, right? It took you about 1.5 years to get there? Yeah.
So we've been looking in several different markets and trying to figure out, what is going to be the best place for us. We live up in Chicago area and it's a great area. We love it here, but it's really not the place where we wanted to invest our money into multifamily. So we started to look down in the sunbelt states. And Ryan is our acquisitions deal finder guy. We also have another member of our team, Ben Bozer, who's great with networking with people and other investors who want to get into deals. And he was actually a great resource for us on this one.
Yeah, he does a lot of the networking. He's real active on LinkedIn, and he was actually able to connect with the group that we connected with down in Atlanta. And they were looking for investor relations help, bring in some capital. So he connected with that team, and that's kind of how we got hooked up there, bringing in some capital to help him get the deal across the across the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So that's exciting. A lot of people, they don't realize the first deal is the hardest, right? It takes a while to get there. So I always like to find out, like, how long does that first deal take? Because that is like, once the first deal's done, you kind of have a lot more confidence and a lot more swag when you're talking to these brokers and just being able to easily get into your second and third deal from there. So are you guys working on anything as far as getting into your next deal?
Absolutely. The momentum doesn't stop. That's for sure. Once you get your teeth sunken into the first deal, you just want to keep propelling forward from there. And that's exactly what we're doing. We just took a trip this past weekend. We spent 24 hours on the road, touring a property, touring the area, and seeing if it's something that we would like to potentially invest in with our investors. So that's what we're working on now, is trying to go through the LOI process. And, the reality is it's a tough battle to get that first deal. Like you said, we've put in LOIs multiple times and we've made it to best and final and didn't get the final selection, or we put in the LOI, but we've been beat out because the market was so hot this past year that we were just getting outbid by astronomical amounts of money that we just couldn't compete with. So the market is constantly shifting, and we have to realize how we can adjust as a team to try to get a deal under our belts and change up our strategy a little bit every time.
I want to talk a little bit about the roles. So obviously, your husband and wife team, you have two different roles on the team, and you also have other people that you work with. They all have their own specific focus that they are, experts in or specialize in. So can you tell us about what specific roles you guys are involved in, and also maybe how your previous experience or maybe your previous W-2 experience has kind of helped prepare you for what you're doing right now?
Yeah, like Shawn mentioned, I'm the deal acquisitions guy, broker relationships, try to source all of our deals, and underwriting and all the number stuff, because my wife doesn't like numbers, and I love numbers.
He just called me out.
I called her out. I love numbers. I love the story that they tell, and I like putting numbers together and seeing what works, what doesn't work. So that was kind of a fit for me. So I kind of took on that role. And then, just staying in touch with brokers, trying to find deals, underwriting. It can be a lot of work sometimes, but it's something I enjoy. I enjoy working with the numbers.
Yeah, and I pretty much work on the asset management side of things. So I'm very detail oriented. He gives me the budget, and that's where I know to work from there. So he's the numbers guy and puts it all in line for me. And I know where my starting point and end point is. And I love to have a detailed outline of how we're going to get there. So in my previous role in my W-2 world was meeting and event planning. So I'm used to planning conferences and meetings for tens of thousands of people, both domestic and internationally. So I worked with vendors in all different areas. And I'm used to managing all those moving parts to make sure that we get to the end goal, which is a successful conference that the attendees go to, and they see that it's a seamless process. And that's the same things that I like to apply for apartment complexes, right? The tenants, even though they may be going under new management with new ownership, they see a seamless transition between old management and new management. And yet they also see the improvements that are happening to where they're living, to it's a community that they want to be a part of. They want to stay there. They want to live there, and hopefully add some value to them that, the community feels like it's a big improvement to the community overall as well.
Perfect. And now, did you find, getting into that first deal, that the roles that you had in mind for you originally, did that ever change? And have you had to adjust over time?
Yeah, that's been probably one of the biggest adjustments, because when we both came in and we were obviously in the 3-day going over the roles and the team members and everything, we both looked at each other and said, investor relations, that's not in our wheelhouse, either one of us. Like, we're going to have to outsource that. We're going to have to team up with people, find someone else to do that. There's no way we can go raise money. There's no way we can raise capital. It's just not going to happen. We'll do our parts and we'll find someone else to do that. So that's when about 6 months in, I would say, is when we added our investor relations specialist, Ben Bozer, and he came aboard. And with what everyone in the multifamily space experienced last year, with the rates going up and deals being harder to underwrite and harder to make deals work, harder to find deals, we kind of got deeper and deeper as the months went on, and it's tough to find deals. Like, we're just not sitting around waiting, but it's hard to find a deal, hard to get something to work, hard to submit LOIs when the numbers aren't working. So instead of just sitting around, kind of had an epiphany one day that even if we find our own deal, we're still going to have to bring money to the table. So it's not like you find a deal and the money just magically shows up. You're still going to,
no matter how great the deal is,
right,
the money's just not going to appear. You have to go out and make those connections and build those relationships in order for them to trust you when the right deal comes around to invest in that property. And the sooner that we realize that, okay, we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, as they say. And neither of us being salespeople, so to say, that thought and that concept of going out and trying to raise money was a tough one for us to get a handle on. But as soon as we realized that, okay, it's not about selling, it's about talking to people and just getting them to understand, okay, this is what we're doing in real estate. This is how you can be a part of real estate, and come join this journey with us because it's going to be amazing. And as soon as we started having those types of conversations with our friends, our family, people that we've met through social networks, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere else that we've made connections, in-person networking events, we started to realize that we were building a really good database of people who had some interest in real estate, maybe have never participated in it. But when we got that first deal as an opportunity for them, they started to come forward and said, I really want to be a part of this. How do I do it? Help me through this process. And that was fun for us because, being fairly new in this space, it was exciting because we knew it was a great deal. We knew that we could get them great returns. And now we got to share that with them too. So walking them through that process was fun. And then at the same time, we walked through it also because we invested our own capital, like our own money got invested into the deal. So we have just as much skin in the game as they do. Yeah. And we're all on this journey together.
And it's funny just to add to that too, because
absolutely,
I think we were so focused on finding a deal to bring to someone and it just wasn't working. We brought a bunch of deals to sponsors. They just weren't interested. They didn't work, whatever. And we actually had a couple of different groups reach out to us and say, we need help raising capital. And they were reaching out to us, asking if we could help them. And it was kind of like an aha moment. Like we're out there trying to bring deals to someone else and they don't want them or don't need them. And we actually have people coming to us saying, we need, help with capital. I'm like, so these people are coming to us to help them. So let's see let's give it a shot because we're going to need capital for our own deals. And we actually have people reaching out to us like, can you help us with this? Can you help us with this? So we figured, we might as well give it a shot because then when we do have a deal of our own, we'll have that experience under our belt and we can actually be providing something that people out there need, which is the capital at this point. And they might not so much need a deal. So it's a way for us to add value to the other teams and actually help them get their deals across the finish line instead of trying to find deals in that environment with high interest rates that might not be there.
Yeah. And that was the scary part too, is we weren't capital raisers or investor relations people. We didn't know what we could bring to the table. So when you have other teams calling and saying, hey, help us with this deal, yikes, how much are we going to be able to bring to actually help you? And that wasn't a question we could answer. So I think setting goals for yourself and your team to say, okay, let's shoot for the moon on this one. Let's see if we can bring $1 million to the table. And whether or not you reach that goal, that's okay. Over time, you're going to get there and you're going to build on that. But we did really well on our first raise. And that was the first moment for me, at least, to realize, okay, we all have our own roles that we do, asset management, acquisitions. But at the same time, we also have to do investor relations all the time because it's really the best way to get yourself to be well-rounded and know every aspect of a deal. And then to also be able to help and add that value by bringing investors to the table to help get the deal closed.
Absolutely. I feel like everyone on the team is kind of still has their hand a little bit in the investor relations because we're out there, we're talking to people, we want to make ourselves known. And one thing that we actually had a capital raising coach on our podcast, Edmund Chan. And one of the things that he said that really helped me kind of understand the concept as well. He said, your role, even if you're not in investor relations, what you need to do is you need to get good at making that appointment with the person who's going to basically close, on that investor relations appointment. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense because I can do that. I can, create those relationships. I can talk to people. And then my husband is actually really good at that stuff. So I'm like, hey, you're going to be our investor relations person on our team because my husband, he's, been doing that for a long time already in his other business. So it worked out well that way.
Great.
So I want to talk about kind of the big reason why you guys got into family. Obviously, I know you were doing single family and things kind of went crazy with COVID, but what was kind of the driving force or motivation behind you guys kind of going into that switch?
I think one of the biggest moments was when it was before COVID and everything, and we were more in the single family rentals. We had a few single family rentals that we were managing, and then we went to our lender and we were kind of like, we want to ramp it up. We want to scale. We want to really get this. Because the ultimate goal was to leave our W-2 jobs and just be investors, and wanted to have a whole portfolio of single family rentals, and we wanted to, really start ramping it up. And he was kind of on a different page. It seemed like, I thought we were all on the same page, but apparently not. He was like, well, why don't we just take a little break for now, and, we'll get some debt paid down, and I was like, what? I'm like, we're ready to go. We're ready to ramp this up. We're ready to scale. Like, let's do this. And that's when we kind of had the thinking of, okay, well, maybe it's not that easy to scale in the single family. And that's when we started kind of looking at other avenues where it would be a little easier to scale, where you're not trying to do everything yourself. Because it was just, when we were in the single family space, it was our funds. We were the landlords. It was just the two of us doing everything. We had no property managers. We did everything. We used our own money. We managed it. We found the tenants. It was just the two of us. So that's when we started, okay, maybe this isn't something we can scale.
Yeah, it was a real kick to the gut, because like Ryan said, we were ready to go. Like we've been successful so far. Let's multiply. Let's make it bigger. Let's keep going at this. And when they say, well, you're doing a great job, but we're not going to give you any more money right now. That's a tough reality to face. And you go through that moment of, what are we going to do? Like, this wasn't in the plan. And it's that moment that you really have to kind of change your strategy and really sit down and think about how you can shift and reinvent yourself in a new direction. And, your network is really a big help as well, because a lot of people we knew were in wholesaling and single family rentals. And once you start to go outside of that network and talk to other people who are doing other things in real estate, you start to realize that there are other ways, whether it's development or retail or other commercial type spaces. There's a lot of opportunity. And even in the time that we've been in the multifamily space, we've met so many people in so many different spaces of real estate. It makes you kind of rethink, oh, wait, should we be considering, storage? Should we be considering, RV parks? There's so many different options, but you have to find what fits with your personality, your business strategy, and what you feel you can successfully accomplish. And for us, that's still multifamily. We love the multifamily space. That's where we started. It's where we want to continue, and that's what we focus on.
I'd love for you to walk us through this first deal. So kind of tell us about, where is it located? What do you like about the deal? How difficult was it to kind of get that first deal started?
This deal, like I said, I think I mentioned earlier, our investor relations guy, Ben Bozer, he's active on LinkedIn, and he met the group that got the deal under contract and their lead GP on the deal. And we kind of came in on the end of it. Like, we don't have a huge role in the deal, but we came in on the end of it because they were looking for more investor relations people to help get the deal across the finish line. And we were able to bring them capital that they needed to close the deal. As far as we sit in sometimes on the asset management calls and kind of help out with that portion of it. And as far as liking the deal, what do we like?
Yeah, Ryan underwrites hundreds of deals a year. And that's not even an overestimate. I can't tell you how many times I've seen him at the dining room table with his head in his hands, trying to make something work at his computer. And as much as he tries, it's just not penciling out. So he knows when there's a good deal. And the first thing he's always going to ask when we're presented with someone else's deal is, let me see the underwriting. Let me see how you did this. Make sure that the numbers actually do pencil out correctly, that it makes sense. And everything was aligned with this property. It's in a great location. It's right outside Atlanta, but still close enough within 20 minutes to downtown if you need to commute into the city. It's got great amenities all around it. It's in a really good neighborhood. A lot of opportunity for value add strategy in this one. Lots of renovations that can be made, rent bumps that can be had within the market that are they're still way under rents for this particular market. The property management company wasn't doing maybe the best property management that they could. So there was a lot of opportunity here that could be had, and we could see the vision that the team had for this particular property. So as soon as we went through all of the details, it was a no-brainer for us. We wanted to be a part of this project, and that's why we decided to jump in head first, and we were able to bring in quite a bit of capital for this particular deal. But even to this day, like I said, we invested our own money into it because that's how much we believed in it. So when the right deal comes along and you know that all the numbers are there, it's a good feeling to know, okay, yep, we're making a good investment. And I can personally tell other people, including my friends and family who I have to see every single day, that yes, this one is a good deal. You need to get into this deal. So come on this journey with us and let's all make some money.
Awesome.
We always like to invest our own capital in our deals too, because I feel like I wouldn't want to tell someone to put their money somewhere where I wouldn't put my own money. So I think it's important. And I don't know if other people feel the same way, but if someone approached me with an investment opportunity, I would ask them, are you invested in the deal? And it might sway my, decision if they were like, no, I'm not going to do it. Well, why should I do it then? I mean, it's not a must, but I think it goes a long way where we can say that, our money's in there too. So it's right there next to yours. So we're going to work hard to, get great returns for both of us.
Love it. So congratulations on closing your first deal. I'd like to know kind of what's next for you guys. Where are you looking as far as what markets are you interested in? What are your thoughts on just the overall, market as far as multifamily goes?
Yeah, so I think going into 2023, we just had our team strategy meeting at the very beginning of the year saying, okay, what are we going to do for this year? What's the focus? And for all of us, I think we agreed, as we mentioned, we're just outside the Chicago market. So we're a Midwest team through and through. Most of us grew up around here, so we're very familiar with the Midwest. And we wanted to, although we spent a lot of time looking in the sunbelt states last year, we wanted to focus on something a little bit closer to home this year. So we are really looking at Midwestern states, a little bit smaller properties, something that we can really sink our teeth into and make sure that we can really have a handle on every single aspect of those properties, something that we could easily travel to if we needed to be available. So our strategy right now is in the Midwest. Like I said, we love the Midwest. It's where we're from, and that's where we're focusing. It's already working in our favor because 2 weeks into that strategy session, Ryan found a deal right away. We've already been working on it. And now we're working with our team to try to get the LOI submitted and see where that takes us from here and just keep moving forward. We're going to keep a positive attitude and hope that we can close a few more this year and really do some great things for our investors.
We've always had Indiana on our list ever since day one. That was one of our main markets that we want to focus on, Indianapolis area. I think that's a really good market. So, a big focus is the whole state of Indiana, Evansville, Bloomington, Indianapolis, even up in South Bend. There can be some good deals to be had up there. So, and it's easily, like Shawn said, accessible to us. We can jump in the car and be anywhere in Indiana in 4 hours, basically. So, our main focus, I think, is going to be Indiana for the next few months at least.
Nice. And so you mentioned you're looking at smaller deals. So what size are we talking?
So
when we first got into this, I was doing like 250, 300 deals and just underwriting them. And
he was told to think big, and he took it literally.
By Tyler Devereaux. So I did. I went out there. I think the first one I brought to a sponsor, we were 2 months in or something. It was like a $24 million deal. And the sponsor kind of put us in our place like, what are you guys doing? And we were kind of like, okay. So then we kind of scaled back a little from there, but we were still looking at the bigger deals. But right around 100 units, 125, I think probably is.
Yeah, I would say anywhere from 100 to 200. The nice thing about the Midwest is you're not seeing some of the higher inflation pricing that you would see down in the Sunbelt states. The cost of living is so much more manageable up here in the Midwest. And it's something that I think really attracts to a lot of people. There's a lot of Fortune 500 companies that are in and around Chicago, all the way through Indiana into Ohio. So there's a lot of potential up in this market that we really like, and just a lot of great attractions too. It's a great place to live. So we want to be able to have properties that we take pride in. And I think there's no better way than being so close to home for us.
Perfect. Now, what's the biggest challenge that you'd have to overcome throughout this multifamily journey that you've started on so far?
Being on this podcast?
Yeah.
That's what I call it. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a big deal for us. Ryan's not always a fan of being on camera, but I know that
I'm a behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That's why I do the numbers. I'm off in my office doing the numbers.
No, but we wanted to put ourselves out there a little bit more, and we appreciate the offer to come onto the show. And this has been a lot of fun for us, and getting Ryan out of his comfort zone just a little bit is fun to see. But I think the biggest challenge is continuing to grow. We have our investors that we've worked with so far, but how do we meet more people, and how do we really put ourselves out there to let them know that we're doing this? And we've made it one of our goals this year is to attend more in-person networking. Now that the in-person events are coming back online and people are meeting in person again, it's a good feeling to get face-to-face with people and really meet them and learn about them. And there's a lot more that you can learn in person than you can through Zoom. So for us being able to get back to conferences and talking to people face-to-face and building that network and finding out what those investors are interested in. We're here to find properties for them. And that's our goal. If they have a certain market that they like, a certain type of properties, that's what we're going to focus on because we want to help them get into real estate as well.
And I think one of the biggest things, at least for me, that I've learned through this whole process is one of the reasons I kind of shied away from the investor relations is because I'm not a salesman. I'm an automotive technician, so I work with used car salesmen. I mean, everyone knows the bad rap that a used car salesman had. I'm like, I got to go be a used car salesman now. Like, really?
Yeah.
But it's kind of going through this deal, and you realize that you're not so much selling people. You're really just telling them. Like, I've had more people. Like, I just talk about what I do. Like the whole past 10 years, we invest in real estate on the side. It's kind of like a side project, and just by telling people, it's true what they say. You just talk about what you do, and it's crazy the number of people that'll come back in a couple of years and be like, well, what did you say you were doing? I mean, that's how we found a couple of investors for this deal is you just talk about what you do, and you don't even pitch them or tell them, try to sell them on anything. You just tell them what you're doing, and they're like, oh, that's interesting. Like, is there a way I can get involved in that? So it's kind of an eye opener that it's not so much a sales pitch. It's more of just talk about what you do, and you'll be surprised the number of people that are interested that you wouldn't even think one had money or two were even interested in getting involved in something like that.
Yeah. And I think when you talk about something that you love, they see that passion that you have for it. So when they start to have questions or start to think about, oh, maybe I should look into real estate, they come right back to you and ask you more questions because, we talk about it on social media and some of the great things that we've done, and we share it on our Facebook page with all of our friends. And I have people come up to me, are you still working? Do you still have your W-2 job? Yes, I'm still in my W-2, but I'm also working in real estate. And let me tell you why I love it. And usually those are the ones that come back to me. It's like he said, a year or two later, hey, what were you doing in real estate? I want to know a little bit more about it. I just come into some money, or we're selling our house and we have some extra cash that we'd like to invest. Tell me what you're doing. So that's usually how we get a lot of our friends and family and new people involved in real estate. And it's fun because most of them already have some sort of interest in real estate. They just don't know how to get started. And that's where we'd like to help them.
I must talk about it more than I think, because I've had people come up to me that are like, tell me more about that real estate thing. I'm like, we've talked about that before? Like, I don't ever remember telling you about that. So I just must be talking about real estate all the time.
That's awesome. Yep. When you love something, it comes naturally, right? You just talk about it all the time. And I think that's how you really start to build your network of investors. It's just by being yourself and just letting people know what you do and not being a secret agent, right? You just got to be out there and just be yourself.
Exactly.
So thank you both for being on the show today. Where is the best place for people to find you if they want to learn more about you guys online?
Well, we're definitely out on social media. You can certainly find me on Facebook, Shawn Gaylor. Otherwise, GT Capital Management has a Facebook page as well. I know that Ryan and Ben are both very active on LinkedIn. Do you want to share your?
Yeah, I'm more active on LinkedIn than Facebook, but I'm on both sometimes. Sometimes I go through droughts on Facebook where I won't be on there for a while, but yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn or contact on the website, www.gtcapitalmanagement.com. And
hit us up, and we'd love to talk real estate or just talk about what everybody else is working on too. So don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Absolutely.
Perfect. And thanks everybody for tuning in to today's show. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, please write us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Every review helps us to reach more and more people looking to get involved in commercial real estate. Today's show was sponsored by Synergy Capital Investments. To download your free multifamily investment guide for beginners or to schedule a call to learn about our upcoming investment projects, go to thrivewithsynergy.com. That's thrivewithsynergy.com or click on the link below.